Arsenal 1, Newcastle 0. And we've qualified for the Champions League. Again, I'm delighted with that result. I've got to say I was very, very nervous. I have an innate, welcome Purely Arsenal FP, I have an innate sort of pessimism anyway, even 6 to 7 weeks ago on these instant reactions when we were probably 6 to 8 points clear of the, you know, the top 4, top 5. In terms of the way we were playing, I was saying, you know, I'm far more looking at the teams behind us than I am at, you know, the remote possibility of catching Liverpool and things like that. This was a couple of months back. And I think once the ability to be able to catch Liverpool was gone, I did feel it was just inevitable we'd get a collective drop-off, which we did. I didn't think it would be as bad as it is, as it has been. But I thought it was only going to be natural. You know, obviously we were still in the Champions League at the time. All the energy was going there. We've got a bare thin squad. Players coming back, but they're not fit. Saka, Havertz, White. They're not fit. They're not fully fit. You can tell they're not. And so you've got a lot of players of thin squad. Players coming back, but they're not fit. So it's still thin. And then the motivational factor. 3 years of fighting for a title that you've not achieved. Finally to be told that, you know, there's nothing really to fight for there for the last 6-8 games. The inevitable drop-off was going to happen. But look, let's talk about the Arsenal-Newcastle game. Enough about that. We Eddie Howe. And what I mean by that is, you know, they've obviously won against us 3 times this season. Eddie Howe's generally had Mikel Arteta's number when we played up against them. But oftentimes it's performances from Newcastle that are over-egged by the media, really. It's not like they put in fantastic displays against us. Oftentimes they do what we did today, which is sort of shut up shop, get a goal, and you know, and then make sure they're very, very compact. It's a bit like what they did in their 1-0 win over at, you know, their place when they got an early goal from Isaac this season, and then we, you know, dominated the ball without creating enough, really. They barely created a thing again, and game over. In this game, I mean, the first half was very open from us. I don't think we started well. I don't think we played well at all in the first half. I mean, we were so open in midfield. It was like Partey was getting bypassed and Rice was so far ahead of him. It just felt like they could drop that ball into midfield, a bit like PSG did for their first goal against us at the Emirates. And they'd just be against our back line straight away. And it took a lot. And obviously with Raya making some poor passes out the back, we just looked really, really tetchy and really nervous, but leggy. We looked leggy, tired. And they had a lot of chances, and Raya gave away some, but he really made up for it with some of the saves he made. Some great sort of point-blank saves from Ramirez, and a shot from distance from Harvey Barnes, I think, that deflected. We very much easily could have been 1-0 down. We did have 1 or 2 chances ourselves in the first half, but we could have been 1 or 2 down, and I don't think we could have had any complaints. And usually this season, that's the way it's gone at that point. I do not personally remember many a game like this where we've kind of survived an onslaught from a team to then go on and win the game. And that I couldn't see any other result other than us losing this game really at half time. I was like, we don't look like we're bringing our level. We look like our legs were gone. And then in the second half, we had to make a change as well. And oddly, the change kind of helped us a little bit because we put Calafiori on. Saliba, I don't know what his injury is. And Kivior had to move. And I thought, oh, God, this is bad. But then we just started to dominate the ball. We started to play a lot higher. And we stopped getting transitioned on. And I don't think we created a ton. But we were dominant. And you felt more comfortable in the way we were playing and winning the ball back, and they couldn't get their wide players involved. They had to end up taking Wilson off. The goal is a thing of beauty. I mean, Declan Rice, this is why he is so fantastic now. He has become a player that can just do this, and you just think it's normal. It's just normal, you know. But some people say Gerrard-esque and things like that. I think it's getting to that, to be honest. He has got such a good strike on him. And if anything that has come out of this season is that sort of confidence from him to be able to take on those shots, right? Saka does well to win the ball back. I thought Saka was quite poor in the game, to be honest. Doesn't look fit. Odegaard plays it into him, but he just laid it to him from about 30 yards out, and he's just whipped it. Very similar to the free kicks that we've seen against Real Madrid. Very, very similar to the one he scored against West Ham away. Excuse me. My allergies are playing up. Oh dear. And we go 1-0 up, and it was brilliant goal. And then you felt like we've got something to hold on to, but we've dropped so many leads from the 1-0 position that I immediately said, watch the scoreline now. Be very careful about what we do here, because we often concede straight away after this. Often concede after a Declan Rice goal at home as well, we've been doing recently. And Newcastle also, I think we're one of the worst for dropping leads, and they're one of the best for comebacks. So it really wasn't good, and we really started to play within ourselves and go deeper and go more compact, and that made me nervous and tetchy. But Newcastle really didn't create very much. You know, they didn't create very much at all. Willock had a shot that ballooned over the bar. You know, I thought Kivior and Calafiori were fantastic in the second half. I thought Kivior was great all throughout, to be honest. Some last-ditch challenges, some clearances from crosses. Had to move from left centre-back to right centre-back. Look, it might be the summer to sell Jacob Kivior, because maybe some might say his stock will never be higher. And if we do sell him, I'll always hold him in high regard, because he's come in when he's barely played. It's often in positions that aren't ones that he's comfortable in. This is probably the first time he's come into a position that is. And he's done a really, really, you know, admirable job, really. And I'd have no problem keeping him. No problem. But I do think if we get bids for him upwards of 30 million, we will probably say, see you later, and maybe get a right centre-back cover in. Because I think you saw today, well, maybe it's not, but it feels like the first time I've seen Calafiori at centre-back. But he looked promising. I mean, they didn't offer a lot of attacking threat, but he did look promising, Calafiori. I love the way he steps out with the ball as well. He's so confident on the ball with his feet. Yeah, there might be something there. That'll be interesting to see how that position develops for him. Couple of things to talk about late on. I thought the referee was fine early on, but I felt late on he was a bit of a disgrace. I mean, Martinelli was through. He's about 25 yards from goal, albeit to the left of the goal. But he's definitely the last man, Kraft. And I think the annoyance that Arsenal fans will have here is Arteta keeps getting, you know, quoted by all of these journalists that want bait and interaction and are happy for him to get abused constantly by misplacing his journalism. And misplacing his quotes and him saying, you know, injuries cost us, when in actual fact he said tons of things, our own issues, not playing well enough, plus injuries and you know, silly red cards cost us. But they'll take that part of it out. But this is where Arsenal fans and him will be really annoyed, because Saliba got sent off earlier in the season, basically just off the halfway line. And we got told it was because he was central to the goal. Well, I'm sorry, that is 30 yards further away from the goal than what Kraft was here. There is no logical sense there. And what you're saying is further from the goal. And the frustration there is that red card from Saliba. I've seen that a million times, and it never gets given as a red card. It doesn't. We saw it the day later at Anfield when a Chelsea defender did it. I think it was the one they signed on a free transfer from Fulham. He did it, and he was closer to his goal, and they booked him. And you know, this and the Saliba's one was a booking, and it got overturned, which is even more ridiculous. It's never a clear and obvious situation. They were comparing Ben White's speeds to Evan Nielsen and trying to act like they had no choice. And then this one goes about. And the amount of times Newcastle kicked the ball away today and did things like that. There was a point where Dan Burn not only took the ball away from our free kick, but threw it down at our injured player and didn't get booked. No choice. This is the frustration that Mikel Arteta rightly has. But it was beautiful to see at the end of the game, despite the ref trying to continue the game for whatever he wants. He wants all the northern teams in the Champions League this year, so he can just, you know, he could probably walk to all the stadiums, couldn't he, the ref? So he wants all of them in the Champions League this year. Go to one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday. Then do it again next week, one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday. Just take his little scooter down there and go to the games. Got to be careful with this. I mean, you do. I'm saying it mockingly and comedically, but generally you've got to be careful with you know, as northern teams start to smell success, the referees, they get right behind them. And you've got to be careful with it. We know where all these referees are picked from and reside, and we know notoriously how these teams get favoured. And I include I include Liverpool in that too. Of course I do. So yeah, brilliant to see their anger at the end. They'll qualify for the Champions League, I think. I think they've done enough, or they'll do enough, and they'll win. They'll probably get points in their last game, but they could have gone above us in this game, you know. And I've always said I don't particularly care if it's second or third, as long as we make the Champions League. I'm still kind of that mindset, because we've been mocked for it for 2 years. So, you know, everyone's saying now that second's desperately important, but it wasn't good enough for the last. So it's like, well, just make the Champions League. And so thankful that we have, and we can go into that last game a little bit relaxed. And, you know, if we don't get second, then yeah, it'd be disappointing now. But, you know, we've made Champions League, and that's the bare minimum that we needed to do this season. And it's a season that I think a lot of Arsenal fans will be happy to see the back of. It's been a very frustrating season. Yeah, I thought Martinelli did great second half, really good running the channels. But yeah, Kivior, probably my man in the match. Calafiori not far behind for that second half performance. And what can I say? We Eddie Howe. 0.8 XG to 1.8. It's just, you know, sometimes it's nice when it goes your way for a change, which hasn't happened a lot this season. Transfer podcast. I'm going to get back on a podcast. Thank you for asking. We will be back, me, James, Neil, Mike, doing some transfer stuff. Links to Embremo today. I'd love that. Love that. Love that. Just spend some money on some proper forwards, please. At Purely Arsenal FP on Twitter. Comment, like, subscribe. Get in now.